very fortunate to have Timothy Deschamps here. He is the director of the Central Mass Mosquito Control Program, and they represent several communities, many communities now that we see them out there. And I'll let Tim give more or less the presentation of this season's mosquito-borne illness issues and what they do as a proactive approach. So with that said, I don't want to go any further than to allow Tim to maybe give a small presentation and then answer any questions the board may have.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mark. As we all recall, last year we did see pretty significant Triple-E activity in the Metro West area, including the town of Ashland. So the mosquito district started meeting actually in late November. We met several times over the winter to discuss trying to mitigate some of the initial risk from two species of mosquitoes that are implicated in either the transmission of Triple-E amongst the bird population or the transmission of Triple-E to the human population. So we came up with a plan, and we had 21 communities last year in our service area alone that were designated as either high or critical risk. So we spent about 2.5 months poring over maps, looking at topographic areas, using GIS, and then most importantly, going out and actually checking these sites, with field staff and personnel to determine if they're appropriate for a helicopter application, and if so, what the size and scope would be. So we did perform applications in all but one of those communities, totaling over 2,000 acres. In Ashland itself, we did perform 207 acres in the cattail mosquito habitat. These were areas, one large area was opposite Pond Plaza on the Sherborne-Framingham town line. There was another area that was in the Wesson and Mulhall neighborhoods, pretty well impacted with beavers over the course of time, as well as on Main Street opposite Fenwall, another area that's been impacted by beavers. And finally, we designated some habitat off of Oregon Road near the Mass Pike. So those applications were done on June 1st. We used a 30-day product. It's a bacterial product that's certified organic. The product itself is called Natural R, and the active ingredient is a bacteria called spinosad. So it was a new product for us. We have been field trialing it for the past couple of years in these habitats. Again, we're looking for these cattail marshes. So these areas are difficult to treat for these mosquitoes because unlike other mosquito species, the cattail mosquito in larval form does not freely float in the water. They actually attach to the roots of the plants. So getting our bacterial products to the mosquito presents more difficulty than in an open water situation. So by using a 30-day product and a product that's also known to not only work with ingestion of the bacteria, but also strictly contact, we feel we did get some pretty good control. We have some traps in a few of our areas to determine how much control we did see, and we're hoping to also be able to see suppression of these mosquito species throughout the rest of the summer. In addition to that, of course, West Nile virus is another disease that we're concerned about. One of our main programs is treating for the Culex mosquito, a mosquito species that carries the West Nile virus. They tend to develop in a storm drain, so the catch basins in the city streets. So to date, we've applied our products in 1,510 catch basins in the town of Ashland. We have an active surveillance program ongoing with over a dozen locations that are being sampled. We send our samples in on a weekly basis. Thankfully, to date, we have not identified any mosquito virus in the town of Ashland. And we have received 265 service requests from area residents. So in a very brief nutshell, that's the work we've done for the past couple of months.
I always find it fascinating when you come to our meetings and you educate us on this, because it's very fluent to you, but it's always a lot of good knowledge for me. So I appreciate it.
Excellent.
Can I ask him one question?
Of course you can.
Do you get, we just got the email regarding the governor's enactment of that new regulation or law regarding the ability of the state to do whatever they need to do. Does that increase your resources to fight this, or is it just, does it mean anything to you?
That legislation initially was aimed at giving more authority to the State Reclamation and Mosquito Control Board. That's the board that oversees all operations of mosquito control in the state. Last year, in the Metro West area especially, they realized that a lot of the virus was occurring in communities that do not belong to an organized district. So that presented some legal issues as well as some logistical issues. So that legislation was filed by the governor. It's gone through a few changes as one would expect. What was added to that legislation was a task force will be formed starting in October of this year. They'll have 1 year to do investigations on bringing our operations into the 21st century. And they're supposed to be providing the governor a report in October of 2021. So it may not necessarily give us any additional resources, certainly not on the immediate basis, but we have been very fortunate to be to continue to be very well funded. We're very well supported by our member communities. We had the town of Grafton join our area last fall, and then just a few weeks ago, the town of Bolton also joined. So despite this COVID-19 pandemic, there have been a few communities that have been able to see some extra in their budgets to be able to, bring us into the fold as you would, as one would expect. So.
Good.
All right, any other members have questions for Tim? Now, do we have, I'll direct it towards Mark, but it might be, go back to Tim, but do we have a plan for the season for educating any public awareness? So what do we do from here between Tripoli and West Nile virus?
Tim, do you want to go or do you want me to start?
Oh, I can start. We certainly have educational materials that we continually restock in town hall, libraries, any place basically that's open right now. The challenge for us has been in our educational programs. Typically throughout the months of April, May, and early June, our entomologists and biologists are very busy in the school systems, educating school children about mosquito control and mosquito biology. Also, health fairs tend to be very common in the springtime as well. So unfortunately, the outreach on the per person basis, has dwindled to a trickle, if you will, or actually halted. However, we have been doing meetings like this, public outreach, and we do have a lot of printed materials as well. So if at any point any member of the board or citizen goes into the library, for example, and doesn't see any of our bookmarks, simple call or email over to the office so we can get them down there pretty quick.
Thank you, Tim. And also we link to your site, which is very educational. You have quite a bit of information on there, your
Good.
site, that is. And we work with our media outlets. If we get notification of an issue within Ashland, we get notified through a health alert network, and then that starts to activate conversations with management, the board, Tim, and others, and we start getting the information out through the media, as well as our website is already active with linkage to your site.
Excellent. Thank
Well,
you.
I know we had a couple of meetings ago, we had a concern about the aerial spraying because we weren't, not directed at you, Tim, but towards Mark. I know that we're talking about doing different outreach for the residents of town because we had calls and we weren't, I don't think all of us were aware that they were going to do it. So is there any plan to do that again, Tim, or do we have another plan, Mark, to, do we have
Aerial spraying would have to be mandated by the state, and I believe, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, they would let us know 48 hours in advance. Jen did share with me some recent legislation that was passed by the state that Senator Karen Spilker sent to her. So it's set in place that there's limitations to what can be requested for no spraying. And Tim, if you can help me out on that, I know organic farms, honey bees, and so forth, but if that's what you're looking, are you looking for like aerial spraying in respect to airplanes or truck mounted?
Well, just in general, I know there was concerns that I think we got a call or maybe an email or something about, there was a concern about when it was done before. So I just wanted to see what we were going to do collectively for outreach to educate people. And obviously, hopefully people are going to be outside. So people, I think, are going to start asking a lot of questions. And I think it would be good to be proactive with, doing outreach.
I think not that we shouldn't do it, Di. It's just going to be it's going to be a tough get with only potentially up to 48 hours You know, what
Right.
if they decide on a Friday that they're going to do something, or Thursday that it's Saturday? I didn't realize it was that short of a window.
Well, I think if we have a plan, then we can implement it. Though, I mean, I don't know. Jen wants to say something, but I don't know how Tim does it in other communities. I don't know if they do a reverse 911 or what.
The advantage of advance notice for the public is they can shelter themselves or close the windows if they want to, so the people who are affected by this spray can save their health.
Right. Jen, were you going to ask something?
What I would say is, if aerial spraying for adult flying mosquitoes is even on the table, we're going to have indications long before the 48 hours begin, unless something extreme happens on a very quick basis. Last year, things did happen very quickly, but we still had nearly a week's time before decisions were nearly made and the actual applications did occur. So, certainly if an issue like what happened in Ashland last year occurred again, the board is going to be made aware long in advance that EEE what was a current situation, and then always in communication with me, I can get a sense from what the state is thinking on how they may progress with the response to that. A lot of it, of course, hinges on time of year, weather conditions, virus situations as well. But as of this point right now, thankfully, we do not have any plans for any aerial spraying, nor does the state. So while things can happen quickly, generally we can get a sense and get a little bit of the advance word out to residents to at least make preparations for it, whether it'll occur or not.
Last year it was quite different because everybody was looking for information because everybody was aware that there is EEE around. And this year, if they don't know that there things are happening, and then you sprayed without telling them, then they won't know about the spray situation. So that's why I think it's better to give them to give them advance notice. That's better.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
I was just going to make a suggestion that we can certainly have so last year we had some outlets in which we used to push information. Primarily, we used the website. We may want to remind people where that is, because obviously a year has passed and it's been quite a year. And so reminding people where they can get information, and we should push that to all the various outlets. So social media, and we can work with Beth and Ashley on that, and they can help us get the word out. And then also I was thinking, just based on Tim's presentation, which I really hadn't thought about, that primarily some of the public education and outreach is typically done in person, that perhaps it would behoove us to sort of move some of their educational materials online, and so that maybe we push, we work to push information. I don't know if it's weekly or every couple of weeks, just even if they just break it down to the small sort of social media, that we can help them get their word out. Because obviously, even if as we open up our library, town halls only open by appointment. I mean, we have very few people coming into the buildings to see the actual pamphlets. I do think that it's typically probably much more effective, but we haven't even opened up our library to people coming in, still curbside. So we are certainly missing that opportunity, and perhaps we will have to, maybe we can work
through the website for get notifications out
to get the right information and start to push it, maybe just in like those small tidbits, and that will keep it at front of mind for people. So we are pushing people outdoors because of COVID, and so remembering to put on insect repellent and all of those things. I think that's really important. So I think we got to couple these messages as we put them out, just to make sure that we're really thinking about overall public health.
Tim, do you have like does your organization, I know we had you in front of us before, but do you have like a PSA video or something that we could share on our website? Just, I don't know if you have anything like that we could. We
don't have one from us, but I know Mass Public Health does have a couple. So what I'll do is I'll find the links to those and I'll email them over.
Okay, that would be great. Maybe we could post those as well for the actual video. Awesome.
Jen was reading my mind, I think, because I just remember last year what a mess things got really quick, and part of it was completely out of our control, and we have to take blame for some part for not being as proactive or prepared as we needed to be, and we have to learn the lesson from last year. Now we have Ashley, which can be a great resource to be able to push information to the public in small bits. I think one of the things we have left over from last year as well too, when things got really bad and we put that mandate out that businesses couldn't serve food outside after sundown, I think we got to make that public now and empower Mark to put that into effect at whatever time he sees it necessary, and figure out a communication plan for getting that active should it need to be, so that if all of a sudden, 2 days from now, there's a swarm, something comes up out of our control and we have to enact that right away, people know it exists, people are familiar with what's going to happen, and Mark makes the call and it happens. So we need to think about some of those things.
I don't think that had a time limit on the action that we took. I think he can exercise the same empowerment now.
And that may be true. We should just revisit it now before it gets to the point where we have to.
Right. It had some color zone indications. I think severe, extreme, or whatever those things.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that.
Well, and I think that's where I was going at the beginning, and is maybe just if we have a plan that if, let's say if Tim calls us or notifies us, this is where we're at. These are the 3 things we're going to do. Put it on the website, notify all the vendors, establishments, and then go to them. Okay. Or like if there's different scenarios, because I think, like you said, last year, everybody was a little taken back. And so I think that if we can just look at last year, and I know Mark, they had which I know there was compliments about, there was a meeting at the end of the season about, the do's, the don'ts, and what's good and bad. Maybe if we can just put together just type of, God forbid if I had to do it, or KG had to do it, or somebody had to do it, and you're not here, we actually know what the protocol is.
Right.
Yeah, you mean.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that
mosquito preparedness. Mosquito preparedness.
Right. Try to be a little bit more prepared, and if things go to the left and not to the right, at least we tried. So
that's a good idea, rather than just trying to assemble things at the last minute.
Well, because I think last year hopefully was, an abnormal year, but if we can take those scenarios from last year and learn from them, I think that would be beneficial.
Sure, definitely.
For all of us.
Yeah.
That sounds good to everybody?
And I have some resources too that I'll share tomorrow once they get back to the office. I'll get it over there pretty early.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have anything else for Tim? I'm sure he would.
Tim, one more question, just potentially as a little public service announcement. If people are looking for possibly commercially available safe products that they might want to use in their yard, is there anything like that available at big box stores, like the Lowe's and Home Depot, or even smaller hardware stores, or that doesn't exist?
No, it does. Everything that we use, all of our pesticides are consumer-based products. So there are some good products on the market. My recommendation, of course, is to read the label. Make sure that you're going after the targeted pest that the label says it's effective for. And then most importantly, follow their mix calculations, because we have seen it too many times where if a teaspoon a gallon is good, then 2 teaspoons is better. And that's absolutely not true. If the manufacturer wanted you to use more, they tell you to use more so they could sell more. But there are some good products on the market for both mosquitoes and ticks, some that are relatively short-lived in the environment, others that have extended periods of control, sometimes a week or 2, even a little bit longer. So depending on the formulation and application type, we always recommend read the label. And as a cautious note, most of these pesticides are going to be toxic to bees. So there's going to be what's called the bee warning on the label, telling you not to apply to flowering plants and when bees are actively out flying. Fortunately, there's some good products on the market. Most of the ones that we use, once these residues are dry, they're not toxic to the bees. So that's another benefit to some of these newer formulations of pesticides. So, but yes, in the big box stores, you can find some good products that you can use on your own yard as well.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great question, Ron. And that's information like that. I think that's good stuff to get out there to the residents, because at least if somebody wants to use the appropriate products on their property, All right, awesome. Anybody else have any questions? No?
Yep.
Tim, thank you once again for educating us.
Absolutely.
And taking some time and going over with us, and I'm sure we'll see you soon.
Sure thing. Take care, everybody.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.